With Mario Rabbids Sparks of Hope finally out, it's time to continue the no damage challenge. This time without Rabbid Kong to screw things up. Heck, this is usually the part of a series where I tell you to consider to watch the original, but don't, it sounds awful. The tutorial starts with us only having access to Mario, which is easily done thanks to it only being there to introduce cover. Once we get Rabid Peach, we can simply turtle until accidentally beating the rest, choosing demanding mode and also items are banned, and making our way to Beacon Beach. We have 6 characters available to us right away: Mario, Luigi, Peach, and their Rabid counterparts. For the next story battle, I choose Peach for her Team Barrier technique, which will give all allies in range 2 charges, with each one preventing all damage and super effects from an attack until the end of the opponent's next turn, and Rabid Luigi for his Speed Donuts. One of my favorite things about this game is that it allows the player to respec all skill trees for free at any time. This means we can change our talents to match the situation and not have to worry about soft locking our build. So we can freely upgrade Peach's glide boost after team jumping, which will allow us to cheese the first reach area mission, since after protecting with Team Barrier and gliding Peach forwards in a way she can hide behind cover while still being able to move close enough to Rabid Luigi, he can also move up. This protects the team from incoming attacks while giving us enough movement range next turn to glide to the goal. The same can't be done in the next reach area mission, and we need range if we want to kill enemies in our path to avoid them moving up to us, so it's time to pull out one of our main strategies for this challenge: using Luigi. He might not have a sentry anymore, and at first glance Steely Stare and Hero Sight aren't as powerful in this game, but what he lacks in Speed Donuts he makes up for with range, especially after upgrading it. Luigi has so much range, he can actually shoot the enemies before the ground is raised, making sure they don't have a chance to hit us back. This level doesn't spawn any enemies other than the ones that start there, so we can just keep shooting with Luigi and ending our turn as many times as we want until the path is clear to safely reach the goal. Edge joins our team as Beepo comes to the brilliant conclusion that having our entire team fighting at the same time would give us an overwhelming advantage against our foes. What's that? Just 3? Oh. Edge is locked on our team for this battle, and although I will try to 100% the game, I'll be sticking mostly to the main quest for now to avoid overleveling, so we're stuck at level 3 for the Giant Wild Claw. We can still upgrade characters in battles they're forced onto your team, and I recommend upgrading Edge's critical hit chance so she can more consistently one-shot Dark Mist portals. Peach has Starburst equipped to buff the team's attack, while Luigi has Reflector since its passive increases his attack further. This doesn't come up often, but the order of your team actually matters for this fight. Luigi should be on the right so he doesn't have to risk a 50% shot against a Stooge. We can then attack 2 Stooges with Peach and have Edge finish them while attacking the boss. This makes him walk towards Edge, which would put him in range to attack her during his next turn, but Luigi's reaction shot does a big chunk of damage since Luigi does bonus damage depending on how far away he is from his target while drawing him away. We can't just keep playing hot potato with the Wild Claw since Dark Mist portals spawn when I end my turn that contain Stooges, and the ones on the other side of the map are too far away to kill. I recommend only killing Dark Mist portals that spawn on your side of the map, which can almost always be done with Edge and a socially distanced Luigi, leaving Peach to chip down at the boss's health. Next turn all of our abilities are back so we can easily finish the boss and get the first Dark Mist Crystal. The next battle of note is the final story battle of Beacon Beach, where we have to destroy all Dark Mist eyes instead of enemies. We can turtle for a bit at the start and use Luigi's range as usual. The portals have enough health where nearby ones need 2 heroes to hit them. We don't have a lot of time as there are multiple enemies directly ahead of us that are slowly breaking our cover, so we need to move forward as a team to clear them. For the last 2 eyes, team jump someone who can hit them both for the last crystal of the world. The first story battle in Pristine Peaks is a reach area mission. These always spawn Dark Mist portals from now on and usually start with a ton of enemies. Fortunately, the portals only spawn after multiple turns and one at a time here. Since the map is so big, Luigi can one-shot them as Peach and Mario make their way to the end. Defeat all combats start with the exact amount of enemies you have to kill, so they never spawn Dark Mist portals, and these snipers never even run up, so I can snipe them instead for another easy victory. I also get the Ethering Spark as an amazing reward, which will help us with basically every fight from now on. The game finally caught on to my baby strats in a combat that requires me to defeat 12 enemies where not enough start on the map. Not only does this mean that I need them to spawn from darkness portals, combats like this have darkness portals that can't be destroyed. This makes them much more dangerous as I can't just turtle while killing them before they spawn a bunch of enemies. This particular map is small and spawns one of these portals on each side every turn. The strategy I used here was killing the sniper with Luigi's flame-powered shot. If I missed the 50%, I would just reset. I dashed into the two Sea Stooges at the start with all heroes and shot them both with Peach, which will most likely kill them. Mario sets up his hero sight and uses Electroid since Shock is super effective against Sea Stooges. Peach's Team Barrier protects against the remaining enemies on their turn. On our next turn, we can head to the right side since it doesn't have a sniper, and Mario shoots in the sky for bonus damage and can set up his hero sight again since it can have a 1 turn cooldown if upgraded, which basically means no cooldown. What makes this so good is that dashing into an enemy triggers reaction shots, so Peach's dash, hero sight, and her shot can kill the last stooge on the right, while Luigi attempts a 50% shot that would have killed another enemy. I save his Steely Stare for next turn since another wave of unkillable portals are going to spawn. Luigi turbocharges the team's damage since the buff stays until the end of the opponent's next turn. His Steely Stare kills an enemy on the other side as Mario's reaction shot just barely leaves the stooge alive. Fortunately, everyone's far away from him behind cover, so we're safe. Portals are just gonna keep spawning, but enough turns have passed so we can use Electroid with Hero Sight to kill the stooge before it can dash into Mario. The enemies from the other side of the map are making their way over, so we have to finish this soon, but fortunately Team Barrier is back up to stall another turn, which again protects against super effects as well, so we're safe from splash as hero sights go burr. We unfortunately missed a fire boosted attack with Luigi, so we still have to kill 2 enemies. We can turbocharge again, which also increases dash damage, so Mario and Luigi can kill 1 enemy while Peach finishes the last one. Since I'm avoiding grinding, I actually have to play the maze section stealthily since fleeing puts you right back at the start with the enemy staying in the overworld, which I thought was mildly funny, I guess. Once I'm in front of the last story fight of the planet, I head back to do some side quests without leveling up. At this point, I decided it would be fair to do side quests to put me just before leveling up for the 2 fights per world that give crystals so I can actually get more sparks. I go back to Beacon Beach, prioritizing quests that won't give XP to buy the planet key and ones that give sparks. Since I'm now a higher level, these are generally easy, with the exception being the one where you have to have 8 bombs destroy the wall. The main issue with this combat is that it spawns 2 to 3 portals every turn. The far away ones don't matter, but if 3 spawn near the start at once, we're forced to focus 2 down with all of our actions. This can happen multiple times in a row, which may force Team Barrier, but should be manageable as long as we don't get exceptionally unlucky. As long as this doesn't happen though, and Peach's Ethering Spark isn't on cooldown, use it and team jump her forward so she can start dashing the bombs. You should be able to get at least 2 hits on the wall each rotation and eventually win the battle. Another type of side quest to focus on is Madame Boistrella's Compelling Combat. These usually give an extra skill prism for winning, which will help for the entire game. These are defeat all combats with high enemy density and are typically on small maps, so you can't just turtle like usual. I actually use Rabbids Mario here since he excels at dealing high damage to nearby enemies and can move after shooting to take cover. We get through the first turn with Team Barrier and 50% cover. After that, I have Rabbids Mario use Unseen so he can stay near enemies to hit them next turn. Another useful spark in this challenge is Toxiquake since it's another way to move after attacking even if it's weaker damage. Mario focuses an enemy down and hero sights another while having to dodge multiple 50% hits. I spend the next turn moving my team to the left to start focusing down the sniper there, which forces Mario to dodge another 50-50. Rabbids Mario's attack can be kind of awkward sometimes, but by continuously cancelling it you can find the perfect angle. which just leaves the 2 snipers and means I can focus one down with Mario and have Team Barrier cancel out the last one's attacks for an easy victory next turn. I probably could have optimized that better, but hey, a skill prism is a skill prism. That was the last coin I needed to get the world key and the Ben 10 spark that will repel enemies in a radius of the hero using it. It's not that good right now since we still have to be close to use it, but it will help us in some important fights. Still level 11, we make our way into the fights against Midnight. We're forced to have Rabbids Rosalina on our team as the 4th member. Again, we can upgrade new teammates on the fight we get them, and here we want to upgrade her stasis talents, picking her dash upgrade over the one that makes enemies in stasis take more damage. Now, all we have to do is use her Anui near the boss to stasis almost all enemies, including Midnight herself. That leaves the rest of the team to focus on the nearby enemies and not removed from the game for 2 turns. The turn after that, Rabbids Rosalina stasis dashes the Flamin' Stooge, and we kill all other direct threats on the map with the other heroes. Next turn, 2 portals spawn, but with only 2 enemies left on the map, we can just stasis dash into the one that's about to wake up each turn, and focus all my other actions on destroying the portals to lock Midnight into an infinite combo to finish the first phase. The second phase goes much the same way, with me using Anui on most enemies turn 1 and cleaning up the other enemies with the rest of the team. Then on turn 2, kill all threats about to wake up, so I can focus on stasis dashing the boss after damaging her with everyone until we move on to the last phase. This one is the hardest since the map is much bigger and enemies are more spread out, making Anui much less effective, and the remaining enemies must be protected against with Team Barrier. On the next turn, I can avoid Villain Sight's reaction shot by going on scene with Rabbids Rosalina and team jumping towards the sniper to stasis dash him so everyone else can also move. I do a little damage to Midnight while hiding everyone behind cover so she doesn't damage anyone with her attack. On the next turn, all enemies wake up, including another sniper, so I have to finish the fight this turn, and by focusing all turbocharged attacks and dashes on the boss, we can say goodnight to Midnight. The first fight in Palette Prime showcases my new main team formation, which will consist of Peach for almost every battle in the game, Mario, Luigi, or Rabbids Rosalina for the other 2 slots depending on the battle. I have no idea why I picked Luigi over Mario here, but we get rewarded with one of the best sparks for this challenge, Glitter. This will make enemies in a radius that gets larger as we level it up move towards the user. Rabbids Rosalina's stasis is key to any fight where the main problem isn't portals, since those can't be stasised, and even if portals are present, they can usually be played around by being far away from them. Before the next story battle, I head back to Pristine Peaks to get some sparks and a skill prism. Madame Boistrella's challenge combat is the first one to force me to use a new strategy since it's so difficult and enemies are just out of range of being annuied. But even if they did, they would have too much health to die before waking up. The strategy involves what I think is the most broken talent in the entire game that I completely underestimated in my first playthrough. And that talent is Mario's Sight again, which gives him an extra charge of Hero Sight every time it kills an enemy. What makes this so broken is being able to trigger Hero Sight by dashing, coupled with sparks that empower your attacks. In this case, most of the enemies here are weak to fire and none resist it, so I use Mario's 2 actions on Pyro Star along with Hero Sight. Peach empowers everyone and Team Barrier protects her from Fire's super effect after Mario's reaction shot. Rabbids Rosalina uses her dash for Mario to take out the other nearby foe. Another benefit to Peach is that you can upgrade her dash to allow her to do it twice per turn, so that's another enemy down with Mario still having 2 Hero Sight charges, since another skill gives him an extra charge, but we're nowhere near done yet. Mario hasn't dashed this turn, so I team jump him over to the other side for him to dash into 2 enemies at once. When someone double dashes in this game and Mario is in range with Hero Sight, he either shoots the first enemy that got dashed into twice, or both enemies at once. Here we luckily hit both, and hey, what's that? Fire making the enemies run around triggers Mario's reaction shot again, so we kill both of them. We didn't need this, but one of the enemies on fire run into another enemy who then gets shot by Hero Sight 2 for Mario's 6th victim. We're still not done, as we have another way to trigger reaction shots. Rabbids Rosalina has glitter to pull enemies towards her and towards their death. Mario's main draw for no damage has now become that enemies can't damage you if they're dead. Unless they're skeletons, but there aren't skeletons in this game. he burned those too. So yeah, Mario just killed 7 enemies and has a charge of Hero Sight to spare. We won't use it since now the only enemies left are close to each other, so Rabid Rosalina can annuy all of them. The 2 deep freezes left have too much health to kill right now, so I use the next turn to kill the 2 remaining snipers, and can alternate stasis dashing between the deep freezes. I also have to watch out for their frost explosions, but since I have full control over when I kill them, it's not a problem and I beat the combat. Since I'm starting to get and use a decent amount of sparks and I want to keep them at their highest possible level, I start grinding for star bits. Whenever you restart or flee a battle, you keep any star bits you've collected. So what I do is find a Bob-omb combat with a lot of Bob-ombs near each other, and in this case Bob-ombs. So what I do is find a Bob-omb combat with a lot of Bob-ombs near each other, in this case 5, and use Toxic Wake to kill them while leaving the 6th alive so I can restart the combat after collecting the bits. Something that's an improvement over the first game is the ability to skip cutscenes. Every game should have this I am willing to die on this hill, so I can skip the opening cinematic to speed this process up even more. This gives me a grand total of 15 every time I restart, and after about 45 minutes of this, I got just over 2,100 star bits, so I can keep all my sparks competitively leveled. After getting all the sparks from Pristine Peaks, I'm ready for the fight against Bedrock, where Bowser is forced on our team. I have the same rule for his Rabid Mecha Koopas and all other summons as I had in the first game, where they can take damage but our team can't. This is great because we'll need to take advantage of this right away. When upgraded, Bowser summons 5 Mecha Koopas which can be picked up and thrown. We'll need to do this to put them near portals, far enough away where they don't explode on an enemy being summoned, and close enough where the enemies target them over heroes. This is useful since Peach's Team Barrier has a 3-turn cooldown, so we can't always protect the team from enemies being summoned from portals, especially combats like this where they spawn often. The Mecha Koopas only have a 2-turn cooldown, so we can use them more often, and between the two we can always get the team out of trouble and beat Bedrock. I accidentally get into a fight with the Goomba that has a defeat 15 enemies goal. They're grouped up so close together that I realized by using Toxic Wake to clear 9 and the upgraded Bowzooka to do high area damage to clear another 5 with just Bowser gets me 42 star bits per rotation, so I grind for another 45 minutes, which gets me enough star bits for the rest of the game by just doing quests once I'm not worried about overleveling. The next story quest is a reach area mission that showcases another benefit to using Luigi in that he has a movement upgrade that allows him to team jump twice per turn, which can cut down the turns required to beat them. In this case, Peach can start with Team Barrier and team jump to the jump pads, which allow her to go to the area near the goal. Luigi already used his first team jump to do the same, but now that Peach is here, he can team jump again to get even closer to the goal. With so many enemies nearby to break our shields, Luigi gathers them around and goes ghost to avoid their attacks, while Peach only loses 2 charges of her barrier. Now we can finish the fight by team jumping Peach off of Luigi since her glide lasts longer when upgraded, and we make it to the end. The final battle of the planet is split into 2 phases where we can't change sparks in between. We need to be able to kill 3 Dark Messiahs at once, and although I brought Rabid Luigi for this at first, Zephyr Quake on Peach works better since we'd rather have Luigi for the second phase. The first one requires us to survive for 5 turns. This is one of the worst combat types for us, since Darkness portals are unkillable for these, but fortunately the only thing that comes out of the portals here are Wild Claws, so we just Hero Sight like any other battle. The second phase requires us to kill 3 sets of 3 Dark Messiahs, with each set needing all 3 eyes to be destroyed at the same time, which we can use Zephyr Quake for again. After some testing, I found that the Darkness portals in this phase only spawn after destroying one of the 3 sets of Dark Messiahs each time, so I cleared all enemies from the map before destroying the first set. The portals here always spawn a Ghostly Walker and Flame and Stooge. Ghostly Walkers are the worst enemy type in this challenge since they're immune to reaction shots when they move, and another thing that will be relevant later. Since I'm able to control when the portals spawn though, I can always have Peach's Team Barrier up to avoid any damage they would otherwise cause for the victory. Now that I can do some side quests without overleveling again, I fight the giant Goomba. You might think this fight would be a difficult one, but it's actually the most exploitable in the game as far as I'm aware. I knew this trick because I actually did something similar in my casual playthrough, but here I took it to the extreme to win damageless. Basically, most enemy types don't move towards the player if they don't have cover to move up to. So we can use glitter to pull the giant Goomba towards us as he breaks most of the blocks in the way, and then angle Screech to make the Goomba run away, breaking the remaining blocks in the middle of the map in the process. Now, as long as the team stays out of the sniper's range, we're completely safe from everything but the Goomba, who is the easiest to avoid since we just established we can make him run away when we don't have team barrier. And even if we didn't, we can have Peach team jump off the hero closest to the Goomba each turn, since that gives a charge of protection if upgraded for a funny win. My favorite. Our Sparks being able to reach level 4 now is especially good with glitter, as its range is now equal to Inui's already pretty generous range. This means we can now use a new strategy where Rabbids Rosalina walks towards one side of the map to gather around enemies there, and then move towards the other enemies to Inui all of them. This sets up difficult combats like this up for an easy victory. Then there's the fight that I actually didn't notice I took damage from until later, when I jokingly opened the heal menu and panicked wondering how I got hit. I went through my footage until I found that Mario's Gust super effect, which is the weakness of the Oozers, had an Oozer hit Peach as she walked into the path herself for some reason. I actually ended up having to re-record the first planet and half of the second one due to visual quality of my initial attempt at this challenge, so I used that file to get back just so I could prove that it didn't matter which level I was and what level my Sparks were. And it's an easy fight, since Mario and Peach can just kill the two Oozers on the right, this time without Gust, and Rabbids Rosalina can Inui the other two nearby ones. Next turn she can dash into the other one to make the rest of the battle a cakewalk. Needless to say, after that incident, I checked if I could use the team heal after every battle. Whetstone! Most fights for the rest of the game use strategies that I already talked about, especially Mario's Hero Sight, so I'm just gonna skip to particularly interesting ones. The Giant Squashette is the hardest giant battle for no damage, since she has so much movement and quake range, but I found a way to keep the boss in check for long enough to always prevent her from damaging me by combining my team's abilities and Sparks efficiently. Giant bosses can't be dashed, so I can't stasis them indefinitely, but they can be stasised with Inui, so I start the battle by killing one enemy with Hero Sight, and gather around the rest to Inui after damaging them with everyone. This protects the team for 2 turns against the boss. I spend the next turn clearing the 2 snipers and leave the deep freeze alive so it doesn't wake up the boss with its explosion. For most battles, Mario has the Reflect Spark equipped for the passive damage bonus, which increases his chance of killing a Dark Mist portal himself, though if he doesn't, someone else can attack it too. On the turn the boss wakes up, I can either Team Barrier everyone or Screech to make her run away. Both actions will buy me an extra turn and I can get some damage in with Hero Sight. Since I Screeched last turn, I Team Barrier this one and attack with everyone to get a bunch of damage on the boss. Enough turns have passed that Rabbids Rosalina has all of her cooldowns back, so I can do the same loop of abilities until I win the battle. The other giant battles can be done with perhaps my grandest strategy I've used in any game or challenge, of standing really far away. I guess I should probably mention though that optional battles usually have about 3 different maps that they can spawn with, so we do need to restart until we find a big one for the depleter in order for this strategy to work. Back on the main questline, we have to survive 6 turns on a small map with unkillable Dark Mist portals spawning every turn, containing 3 enemies including a Magikoopa each time, which is the strongest basic enemy in the game that resists everything and hits multiple targets with attacks that splash. To beat this, we need to use Bowser's Mechakoopas again, but this time we need to be a lot more precise about where we put them if we want to block attacks. We'll want to use this as often as possible to make up for Team Barrier having such a long cooldown, especially since we need to use it turn 1, since even with Gather Around and Mario killing a Sea Stooge with the Lightning Barrel, there's still 2 Magikoopas left. No portals spawn yet, so I can focus on clearing them on my next turn. I gave Bowser a protection charge with Peach's team jump so he can ground pound near an electric barrel without getting hit by it, and use Hero Sight as always. You can still summon Mechakoopas without enemies on the map, and they'll just stand still. After ending my turn, the first portal spawns, so I throw the Mecha Koopas near it and put the shock effect on Mario's hero site while disengaging with Bowser and an Invisible Peach. Shock kills the Sea Stooge that spawns, but leaves an Oozer untouched and a Magic Koopa mostly healthy. We need to kill them while setting up another wave of Mecha Koopas. This leaves Mario to hero site and dash into the Magic Koopa while Bowser ground pounds and dashes into the Oozer. After Mario uses his actual attack for once on the Oozer, Zephyrquake cleans up both of the enemies. The new ones ignore the team, and Peach has her barrier back, which we'll use this turn as Bowser's Mecha Koopas are on cooldown and the last portal spawned this turn. The shields help us get through the 3 enemies, but Mario gets totally oozed and can't use his primary weapon. Oh no. Anyway, we can easily deal with the 2 remaining enemies, so nothing can hurt us on the next turn for the win. I should probably mention that missions that require us to protect something aren't an issue since they can get hit, which actually helps us a bit since it's another distraction for the enemies. All bosses before Cursa are trivialized by them being able to be gathered around, stasis, or by us just not walking forward, so that just leaves Cursa. But before that fight, I complete all side quests in the game since I don't have to worry about overleveling anymore. Most of these are easy with my higher level, but there are a few difficult ones. I should probably mention that many bigger and supposedly more difficult combats feature buildings that are indestructible cover, so we can just turtle behind those on maps like that. Also, the best elemental attack for Mario is usually Shock, since an enemy that is shocked is in the air long enough to get shot again. The hardest survive mission for this challenge starts with Ghostly Walkers and spawns 1 to 2 unkillable portals each turn containing 2 more Ghostly Walkers each. The problem aside from them being immune to hero sight when moving is that they have their own Zephyrquake technique that kills all of Bowser's Mecha Koopas. This is where our sparks that summon allies come into play. We can bring all of them and carefully position them to soak attacks that draw enough aggro to space out the Mecha Koopas safely. It's also worth noting that with the fire upgrade, reaction shots work on Ghostly Walkers that are burned. Another problematic type of battle is any that forces us to bring 2 heroes and only those 2, since that obviously limits our options greatly and forces us to approach them differently. One of these has us bring Luigi and Bowser and requires us to survive 8 turns. I can start the fight with Bowser screeching to have Luigi react with a gusted arrow to kill the enemies at the bottom. Luigi uses his 3rd shot to prevent the Riptide from attacking, and on the next turn he makes his way down to Bowser so we can control this point. Portals spawn more Riptides every turn, but we can keep setting up Bowser's Mecha Koopas with burn to slow the enemies down. Once they make it to our control point, I gather them all around and make my escape to the top to stall for the last couple of turns. The hardest one of these forces us to bring Rabid Rosalina and Rabid Luigi. I started by stasis dashing an enemy in an awkward spot and gathering enemies around before jumping to the top. Rabid Luigi charges his attack with Shock to kill the Sea Stooges there, and Rabid Rosalina annuies the rest. This leaves all alive enemies in stasis, but what makes this fight so problematic is that it spawns multiple unkillable portals each turn that contains 3 Sea Stooges, so we're gonna get overwhelmed by them quickly, but we also can't get close to the enemies to attack them. Or can we? After killing 3 nearby enemies while we wait for more to spawn, Rabid Rosalina uses Exosphere to shield our allies from 55% of incoming damage for the next 2 turns. That might not seem helpful, but when coupled with Rabid Luigi's technique that weakens enemy attacks by 70%, enemies will be doing 0 damage on our next turn. This still doesn't help us since Sea Stooges specialize in applying splash to our team, which will still hurt us when we bounce. But by giving Rabid Luigi a spark with the passive that makes him immune to the splash super effect, he can safely soak every hit from Sea Stooges and squashers alike. We have to make sure Rabid Rosalina is out of range of all Sea Stooges so they attack Rabid Luigi instead, since she still needs her 2 sparks for the battle to work. This is nice, but it only delays the battle by a turn, and after clearing some enemies we still have to kill 8. Fortunately, this bought us enough time for more portals to spawn enemies. We can kill 5 of them with Rabid Luigi's attack combined with Shock, and the remaining ones by gathering enemies around Rabbid Rosalina, only for her to dash away and destroy a shock barrel. That's pretty much it for noteworthy side quests, not that they're all easy, just nothing we haven't already seen, which means all we have left is Cursa itself. The battle has 3 phases that force our entire party to be split into 3 teams of 3, and I don't get to choose who's on which team, so we'll have to go with what we're given here. We have to find a way to prevent each team from taking damage. The first one has Mario, Peach, and Rabbid Rosalina, which is our best team not only for damaging a boss, but has a Nui and Team Barrier to protect them. The second team consists of Luigi, Rabbid Luigi, and Rabbid Mario. You can use Rabbid Luigi's exhaust coupled with Exosphere again to keep the team safe for a turn. Team 3 consists of Bowser, Edge, and Rabbid Peach. As they can summon things, I guess. Our best chance of winning is rushing the boss down, since we don't have time to wait for cooldowns, and phase 1 has the gimmick where the hands choose one hero to follow, and as long as they're under the spike, they're safe, and the hand, arm, takes damage. It's easy to rack up damage with reaction shots, since the hand follows the character around. By focusing all actions not needed to keep our heroes unharmed on the boss, we can kill both arms on the second turn Team 2 gets. It's worth noting that Team 1 wants to avoid killing enemies since it will trigger a portal earlier. Phase 2 refreshes all of our cooldowns and lets us change our sparks around. Unfortunately, Cursa changes her attack with a ranged one that we'll need to get every hero behind full cover to avoid while dealing damage with enemies on the map. Once again, our best shot is rushing down the boss. In order for Rabbid Luigi to get close enough to hurt the boss, he needs to be immune to frostbite, so give him an ice spark. And fun fact, Cursa can be weakened with Rabbid Luigi's exhaust. We can finish this phase on Team 2's second turn again. This just leaves the hardest phase where we have to charge the wand 3 times. Each 100 damage equals about 1%, but the amount of damage you can do at once is sometimes capped. To maximize our damage, we'll need Mario's Spark skill tree that we unlocked from beating the giant bosses. It gives him a 25% chance to get an extra action after using a spark, and as long as we get that, we should be able to win. So we always want to start the battle by using Mario's Aquanox spark and restarting if we don't get the extra action. Peach empowers the team and Rabbid Rosalina gathers around the enemies for Mario's hero sight to kill. This should only leave 2 enemies alive who can be stasis dashed, so Rabbid Rosalina can use her weapon as her last action on the wand to charge it by 38 to 42%. Mario can then team jump and use his bonus action to shoot the wand for another huge chunk of damage. For a while, I couldn't find a safe spot to land since I kept encountering a glitch where Mario would hero sight the stasis enemy when the boss gusted Team 3's side, which would somehow damage him, but here works for some reason, so we're good. I would then screech the last enemy with Peach for it to die to Mario and would hope she would gain an extra action with one of her 2 spark usages, since she has the same talent as Mario, but it's not necessary. Even though this is a line of play that spawns a portal, we need the damage so the other teams don't run out of abilities. This time, Rabbid Mario needs a Fire and Frost Spark to resist both super effects, which will let him get close to the boss on the next turn while we clear some enemies so we don't lose once they're no longer exhausted. Luigi is the only one who can hit the wand this turn on the team, and he finishes charging it to 100% for the first time. It was tough to find a way to deal anti-damage with Team 3 thanks to the gust attack Cursa does, but we put Ethering on Edge so she can team jump forward, which doesn't get her close enough to the wand until we dash into an enemy 4 times thanks to her talent that increases her movement range each time she dashes. We also increased her attack range and damage of her blade with each consecutive hit for a nice 28% while the rest of the team summons things to stall. Back to Team 1, we can use Team Barrier and attack with everyone. Rabbid Rosalina and Mario do so much damage that they charge it back to 100% themselves. And apparently Mario is still moving in the air during that cutscene. We only need to fill it 1 more time to win. Team 2 needs to kill some more enemies if they want to charge the wand, so Luigi uses Aqua Quake and the team clears everyone except 1 Deep Freeze that's too far away to hurt them as Rabbid Mario and Luigi keep up with the main objective. Team 3 can keep stalling while Edge does some damage, putting the wand at 63%. We're running out of cover and abilities, so we have to finish this soon, and Mario and Rabbid Rosalina can completely charge the wand for the third and final time, and officially 100% complete Mario plus Rabbids Sparks of Hope without taking any damage. Not even Bowser can friendly fire us now. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, consider liking, commenting, subscribing, giving me $1 million. If you like this one, you might even be able to stomach my damageless videos in the original game. Also, thanks Cryptic for the end screen and for making all my channel emojis.